Good morning, baseball way of lifers. How we all doing? Trying this live and may do it from here on out, and also be archived on the site and on YouTube. So if anyone's alive out there, let me know in the comment field. It's my first wing at this. So hope everyone's doing good and hope you can hear me and see. Well, maybe you don't want to see me, but hopefully you can hear me. Uh, I think for today's topic, we're going to go over yesterday's question of the day, which was what is the worst experience you have ever had while attending a Major League Baseball game? I think I'll start off first by mentioning two. Being a diehard Met fan, there were two experiences I had regarding the Mets. One was an unpleasant experience, but we made the best of it. And that was being at the infamous blackout game against the Chicago Cubs in 1977. Yes, when Lenny Randle was at the plate, the lights went out at Shea, and it was kind of surreal. We didn't know what was going on. Uh, we hung out at the ballpark for like an hour and a half. Now, granted, I was living in the Garden State, New Jersey at the time. Luckily, my parents took me and two of my friends to the game. We drove, but we hung out because we weren't sure what we were going to do. So, as the evening progressed, they just told us to remain calmly in our seats. The auxiliary lights were on, but then after an hour or so, everyone had to depart. And luckily, we were able to navigate our way home, going through Queens and Brooklyn. It was kind of weird going over the Verrazano Bridge with no lights. And if you've ever been over the Verrazano Bridge heading towards Staten Island, when you look to your right, you can see the Great Isle of Manhattan, and it was completely dark. I wish I had a camera at the time to capture it, but I did not. But it's a memory I will never forget. Then the second worst experience I've had at ballpark was in 2006, Game 7 of the National League Championship Series. I'll mention three names, and I'll tell you. I guess you'll be able to figure out why it was such a bad experience. Adam Wainwright, Yadier Molina, and Carlos Beltran. The funny thing about Yadier Molina, when he put the Cardinals ahead, I said, "Oh, nothing's going to happen this inning." I had to take a piss like you would not believe. We were in the Loge boxes. As you recall, the Loge had like three bathrooms with maybe 12 urinals each. So you had 5,000, 6,000 people there who had to use the urinals. And I said, well, because I knew they weren't going to sell beer anymore after the seventh inning. So luckily, we all stocked up. We had the big, tall Bud boys there in case it went extra innings. So we always used to do that back in my drinking days at the ballpark. Even if it was an 8-0 game, we were afraid it would go to an 8-8 tie and go extra innings. Always had one stashed under the seat, and then had to guzzle it at the end of the game, just because they were all chasing us home. Luckily, we had them under our seats this time, but I couldn't hold it any longer. The seal was broken. So I went to the bathroom. I'm waiting in line in the bathroom. I'm taking a whiz. I hear a collective groan. I said, this is not good. Sure enough, Yadier Molina went yard. Then the rain started coming down to make a unpleasant experience even more unpleasant. So in the mist and the rain, Carlos Beltran struck out against Adam Wainwright. You could hear a friggin' pin drop in the ballpark. But it was a memory I'll never forget. Now, we were in the Loge boxes, if you call the Loge boxes, over from the field level. And there were four rows there. And there was a party of four in front of us who were Met fans. And they were taunting Cardinal fans all game long. And then when the Cardinals finally won, they started giving the old Bronx cheers to the guys that were giving them the business all day. One thing led to another. The guys in the field seats winged a miniature bat at the four guys in the front row, missed them. Luckily, it flew by and it missed us. And next thing you know, those guys were coming up to challenge those four guys in a fight. And I said, oh, shit, this ain't going to work out. Well, the crowd left, and it was quiet all the way out. We hung out just soaking it all in while getting soaked. And on the way out, I found a New York Jets parka, a baseball glove, two Met caps, and a Met windbreaker. So got free souvenirs on the way out. That was the good thing. The bad thing was they had so many horses outside protecting the perimeter of the stadium and the subway entrance that there was horse dung all over the place. And with the rain, it smelled, and no matter what you stepped, there was horse shit. So that was a Thursday night, and I had to go to work the next day. And it was funny things, so like maybe 7 or 8 diehard Met fans at the office. And the next day, we all called out sick. Shh, don't tell anybody. I mean, I don't work for that company anymore, and it's almost 15 years. So I think the statute of limitations is run out. But yeah, we had the Met Blue food that day, and made it a 3-day weekend to grieve. So I'm curious as to what some of your experiences were. And as I look at what you guys had to say, it was quite entertaining reading everyone's quotes. Rick Oberkman says, opening day for the first game ever at the Jake at Cleveland, being told we were in a family section and couldn't drink or smoke. I know how that feels. Shea and Yankee did that for a few years where they had 3 or 4 sections that were non-alcoholic. It was always easy to get those tickets. Now you can figure out why. But a lot of people would go and get the soda cups, then just pour the alcohol in there and sneak them back in. And then Anthony Tupper says, got to watch a drunk guy get kicked out of Minute Maid Park during an Astro Cardinal game for telling J.D. Drew he had sex with his mom last night, was going to call her again. I guess that's in every ballpark, huh? I honestly don't condone that type of behavior. Not a big fan of it, but it happens. That's why it's always better to take your kids to a day game than it is to a night game, I say. Alcohol and nighttime don't go well when it comes to behavior sometimes. Andrew T. Gardner reminisced about an Angel game when a fight broke out between a Yankee fan and a Red Sox fan, and it turned into a full-out brawl. So I guess no matter where you are, no matter what the game, the Yankee-Red Sox rivalry continues. And then Michael Chandler mentions when he has a Dodger game, and him and his girlfriend, who was in the Giant jersey, were walking through the hallways trying to exit the stadium when a group of about 10 to 12 guys approached me and started spitting on me. I was wearing a Koufax jersey and cap. I was stunned and knew they all wanted a fist fight. I tried to just walk away. Seems like that's another people flies under the radar here on the East Coast, but I think that Giant Dodger rivalry is not the friendliest either amongst the fans. Raymond Barnett says, my girlfriend told me we need to talk. That has to be the worst place for a girlfriend to say we need to talk. Darryl Featherly says not paying attention, getting hit in the face with a foul ball. Spent most of the game in the medical area of Comiskey, then half the night the ERA, ending up with a shattered nose. That sucks. I will tell you another story about a bad experience I had, and that was in, I think, 1976. My family again took my friends down to Philadelphia. We were in the 500 level, which was the upper tier at Veterans Stadium, rooting for the Mets. And I think because me and my friends were being a little bit vocal about the Mets, firecrackers were tossed our way, and the firecracker landed in the back in the back seat of my in the seat of the chair my father was sitting in. He was leaning forward, and the firecracker went off. It like stung us all in the ear a little bit, burnt a hole in his shirt. We had to go down to the medics, and we were there till after the game as he was being attended to. Luckily, he was okay. The Phillies decided to comp us 2 games of our choice going forward. So Pittsburgh was a big team at that time, and the Dodgers were big. So we got good seats for the Dodgers and Pirates. But they also knew we were Met fans. So tip of the hat to Tug McGraw. He came out to greet us. I guess they sent Tug out. I also think they didn't want a big lawsuit on their hands. But they sent Tug out to greet us, and he thanked us for coming to the game, apologized for the incident, thanked us for being a Met fans, and thanking us for coming out to the Met. It was a very nice Tug, and the Phillies did make amends. I'll give them credit. But be careful. Don't go down 4th of July season and root for the other team when you're in Philadelphia. Maxwell Kate says, my dad and I got into a fight with the drunks. Fortunately, we both knew to walk away. That seems to be a common theme with baseball these days, is the drunks, isn't it? For Dominic Huber, he says it was when I was working at Busch Stadium, was making sure people didn't try to get seats closer to the game by stealing the seats. A woman told me she wanted to take pictures. I found about 15 minutes there she had lied to me and took advantage of my kindness in a seat that wasn't on her ticket. I'd see that I need to be more assertive so that no one would take advantage of me again. I think a lot of us have tried that one time or another. Before Citi Field, you can get away with it as long as you slip the old usher a $5 bill. And then they didn't care. Even if someone came to that seat, they'd move you. Too bad Shay isn't around these days. Jay Salavaka makes me laugh. Says, I went to a game, and after the game, Huey Lewis and the News played a concert. I still bear the scars. Still bear the scars. I guess, Jay, you want a new drug. Like that one? You didn't like the Heart of Rock and Roll that day, did you? John Ford has made it funny. He said, a hot dog at Yankee Stadium in 1988. Technically, I suppose the experience wasn't until I got home. For me, it's always the morning after. That's when you feel everything coming together. And yeah, it's time to have a couple sprints to the bathroom. Raymond Wolfong said he had someone spill beer all over. A junior age girl from my church at a KC Royal game. Douglas Monroe had a scary incident where he says, my 2-year-old fell down the concrete steps at Tropicana, hitting her head. She was okay, just a bump. Glad everything turned out okay. John Valio says, is there such a thing? John, I hate to say it, but there can be. But we always make the best of it, and we always come back. Again, Shane Gaudreault sounds like my wife. He says, being afraid of heights and sitting 10 rows from the roof at Old Yankee Stadium in 1979. My wife has a little bit of a height fear too, and will insist on only sitting in the lower deck because in the old ballparks at Yankee and Shea, that was steep. Mike Cisco says, trying to get to my seat and tripping down 3 rows in front of me, spilling my soda and nachos and fries across the entire family in front of me. He left. I hate when that happens. I just love my food so much. Even if I lose one nacho, I'm grieving for days. Lenny Levine, again, a common theme, huge brawl in the box seats at Yankee Stadium during a Red Sox game. Must have been 20 participants, all wearing suits and ties. I don't know, in the lower seats, I don't know if you realize that, but in order to get into a fight at Yankee Stadium, you need to wear a suit and a tie. Otherwise, no fighting allowed. You must be properly dressed at Yankee Stadium. Then Brian Bitgo says he remembers watching this bodybuilder-looking dude and his loudmouth buddy polish off 375 millimeter bottles of Bacardi 151 the first 3 innings. For an hour and a half, we sat behind them and watched them harass the obnoxious Met fans in the row in front of them until one of them idiots finally threw a punch. They were all escorted out by security. So the beautiful thing is when you go to like a Yankee Red Sox game or a Yankee Met game, you're not only seeing baseball being played at a high level, there's a good chance you'll see a good few heavyweight fights induced by alcohol. So you not only get baseball, you get boxing. Steve Olcheko says, Steve Bartman. I hope he didn't catch that ball you were trying to go for. And Moses Alou. Both of you trying to go for that ball? You really didn't go into detail there, but thanks for mentioning that. Ben Solo says he sat in Cincinnati and watched Kerry Wood one hit my beloved Reds. Glad to witness it, but it was painful to watch. Kind of reminiscent when I almost saw Kershaw pitch a no-hitter against the Mets. It got to the point where it was like the 7th inning. I think he still had the no-hitter. And the Mets weren't really doing well. And that was 2015 when we turned it around. I think they turned it around that weekend, actually. But they lost to Kershaw that day. And I had almost resigned myself that the Mets were not going to go anywhere. So don't sue me, but I was actually almost hoping for the Mets to lose and have Kershaw throw a no-hitter. Uh, yeah, I know. I'll pay for that later on when it's time to my mate to decide where I go. Bruce Fensky mentions the last game at Shea. I should have mentioned that too. I was there too. That was another rainy day experience. How come rain is always tied in with bad experiences and bad games at Shea? Yes, the Mets did lose and knocked them out of the playoff picture. But the reason why I don't dwell on that is we got to say goodbye to Shea, and all the great Mets from the past came out, and it was a pleasurable experience. David Brown says, never had a bad day at any ballpark. I love the positive spin. Peter Calker says diarrhea is so bad that I didn't want to stay at the game anymore. That may be too much information, but I thank you for sharing it. And that's always my worst fear. If you do get diarrhea, where are you going to go to the bathroom? Where can you go? I mean, that's why you always have to be careful what you eat before you go to the game. What you eat at the game's okay because it's probably not going to affect you the hours later. But while at the game, you do have to be careful. Again, drunks are always the common theme here. Drunks, 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 drunks. Michael Greco touched on my worst experience, one of my worst experience watching Beltran strike out. Uh, George Cruz, it's painful when he says this. It was watching Willie Mays playing with the Mets and terribly misjudging a fly ball. So sad to see greatness on its way down. And unfortunately, that's what I remember about Willie Mays, too, especially the 73 World Series. So my memories of Willie aren't that great, but at least I got to see him play, and he was a Met. Francis Illis has the worst experience I guess a youngster could have. He says, me and my friend skipped school on opening day because he got awesome tickets from his dad. Long story short, the home plate umpire died, and we were caught on camera. That was one of the worst things to happen to me during a baseball game. I have a similar experience. I don't know if you guys know, but I was a vendor at Shea Stadium, and there was a 20-night doubleheader at Citi Field with the Reds and the Mets on a Friday night. And at Shea, to maintain your seniority, get a higher percentage in the bonus at the end of the year, you had to work 65% of the game. So I was there just to get my event in. Well, WOR televised both games of that doubleheader. The following Monday, I go to work, and someone I knew, not in my immediate area, came up to me and said, hey, saw you on TV Friday at the Met game. Well, lo and behold, it was me and another guy. We were both selling hot dogs on a field level, and the cameras panned on us. And they said, I think it was Tim McCarver said, well, I guess these guys are waiting for the crowd to come in and taking in the ball game till they do. And when he said that, oh, Tony, I pulled him aside. You got to keep this to yourself. I actually called out sick. So luckily, because the Mets were so bad, no one else saw the game or saw me on WOR. We're just too afraid to say something or had pity on me that I was actually going through the suffering of being at that 20-night doubleheader. So my Ferris Bueller story of the day is that. And remember, if you work at a ballpark or anywhere where you can be on television, at least take a vacation day. Don't call out sick. Patrick McCarty says, watching obnoxious Yankee fans taught the hometown Rangers before the Rangers had ever accomplished anything. Ernie Stender mentions driving 4 hours to Atlanta. The game was rained out. Boy, that's the worst. Driving 4 hours, even when a beautiful day is out there and the game is played in its entirety, is a long drive. So I feel your pain on that one. Hal Seitz mentions the 2019 World Series when he went to the Nationals Park and they lost. It was still pretty cool to be at a World Series game. And I agree with you. If you can attend the World Series game, the atmosphere, the buzz of being there will always last in your head. Win or lose, I've been to both. That was the 2015 World Series when the Mets won a game and lost two. It's still a great experience. Ray Hack mentions getting ripped off by a scalper. That happens to everyone. Back in the day, there were a lot of duplicate tickets sold out there. I never experienced it, but I know friends of mine who bought hockey tickets in Philadelphia, sat in a seat. Next thing you know, here comes another two people coming to sit in their seats. They had counterfeit tickets. My friend got thrown out. And later that guy got thrown out because the person with the real ticket showed up. Steve Rukin mentions the power failure game at Citi Field. So looks like a few of us were there that day. I wish I had known you, Steve. Could have given you a ride home back then. Timothy Frazier mentioned Mark McGwire hitting 3 home runs at Fenway Park. He said Chet swinging 3 home runs at Fenway Park. I guess he was quite a strong man. I wonder if he was using any supplements. Elman Donnie Bartlett says sitting behind a pillar at the Sky Dome, worst stadium in MLB, concrete dump. Sergio Arena says freezing in Veterans Stadium on opening day. Yes, opening day can be a crapshoot. Sometimes good things are happening. Sometimes the weather's fantastic. Other days you just feel miserable out there. I remember working at Yankee Stadium on the snow day against Kansas City. I think it was 1996. But game on. They're not going to send 55,000 people home after they paid their money in. Michael Keenan says sitting through rain delay. One, is it long enough? Call it. And, and that makes me laugh because when there were no fans in the stands, how many rain delays did we have? So basically, it's all about the money, isn't it? So as long as there's people out there in the seats, we'll have rain delays. Nobody in seats, like pandemic 2020, then there won't be rain delays. They'll just call the game, make it a 7-inning doubleheader the next day. Robert DeMont says getting out of the parking lot at Shea Stadium. Boy, if you weren't parked next to an exit at Shea Stadium, you were good luck for an hour. And when they were really good, you were lucky if you even got into a parking lot. You had to scatter yourself all over Flushing somewhere to get in. Joe Lally says when Tony Sanders' arm snapped and he screamed out in pain, that's never fun to watch. Never, ever fun to watch. Sean Williams says getting thrown out of the Yankee Angel game in 2013 or 14 when a fight broke out in the bleachers in the 8th inning. Instead of heading towards the people fighting, a security guard came towards me because I was recording the fight. He reached his hand out to grab the phone. I told him, get your fucking hand out of my face, and he had the police escort me out. Despite being a diehard Yankee fan, I was ready to boycott the stadium for life after this. I think I was back to following Helmstand, though. Yeah, we always come back. But that sucks, though. I guess see no evil, hear no evil. If you filmed it, then I guess they're accountable. If you don't film it, it's like it never happened, right? Oh my God, you guys have so many stories. Thomas Babuski had birds drop a load on my wife at Chicago White Sox game. Seats were on the main concourse. Wasn't that good luck? I think it's good luck. So maybe, hopefully, you had good luck after that. James Leverin says, having Jim Rice's 300th career homer drop out of my glove at County Stadium when I was a group of drunks wound up with it. Like, that's something you'll never forget. But you know what? Whether you have the ball or not, you experienced it. You had your hands on Jim Rice's 300th home run. Remember that. Barry Kopp, rain delays. Mark Shaw says, wearing my Phillies jersey while visiting Three Rivers Stadium, not realizing that it was $1 beer night. Big mistake. Well, I have a feeling that maybe your jersey was beer scented afterwards. Just guessing, of course. Fred Zittel says, sitting in a rain-soaked game for 5 innings with no score, and then the game is called and there's no refund of the ticket. The words. That's got to be the worst. Jim St. Clair says, the last game at Shea. Abe Gottner makes me laugh. Gottner, I'm not sure how you say your name. Sitting next to my ex-wife, kept hoping a foul ball would hit her. I guess it didn't, otherwise you wouldn't be posting that today. Tom Haggerty, Oh, this sucks. Someone threw up on my friend on opening day at the bleachers at Tiger Stadium. What do you do then? You have to walk around with the smell of vomit on you all day long. A lot of people, rain delays, drunks, using the bathrooms. Oh, Bob Wall, I'm sorry to hear this one. Got mugged at knife point at a Met game by a group of kids when I was 8. That's uncalled for. I hope no one ever experiences that. Paul Maini says almost falling off the upper deck in Shea Stadium. That's scary. That could be quite a fall. Scott Middlebrook says my 3-year-old daughter got too hot and threw up on 3 Cub fans. But at least it was a child, so that can be forgiven. Bill Mullins, one of those guys who went to Disco Demolition Night. I guess that's a memory you'll never forget. I wasn't even there, and it's still something I'll never forget. Jim Anderson, very sad. He attended the Cards Cubs postponed game when Darryl Kyle died. That was a sad day. Wrigley in April. I'm still defrosting, says Bill Babcock. Makes you wonder why they have like games in Chicago and all the northern cities in April. Something needs to be done about that. Bob Moy says the rain delay game 7 2016 World Series. Ron Kaplan says had to step in as a peacemaker. My friend almost got into a fight in the parking lot at Shea Stadium. You got to watch out. That's wild territory, the parking lot. Inside the stadium, people can help you out. In the parking lot, it's the wild, wild west. Lance Smith says he and his 3-year-old son were spit on and cursed at by drunk Cub fans in the upper deck. Our crime wearing twin shirts to a Dodger Cubs game. I just can't figure out why people do that. I really don't know why that happens. And Michael Housen says, my dad took us to Wrigley Field in April. It was freezing cold out. Bergman was pitching no-hitter. He made us leave in the 6th inning. We got home just in time to see everybody running on the field after he pitched a no-hitter. Well, Michael, at least you got to experience part of that no-hitter. And folks, that summarizes some of the highlights of what you guys said. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you were able to see it live. I'm trying out this concept, and I'll be archiving this on Facebook. It'll probably be in the announcements in the Facebook group. If you watch these videos on YouTube, please, by all means, subscribe to the channel so you'll get all the updates when a new video is uploaded. And like or dislike the video. I'd love to hear from you. And please leave comments. And that's it. I'll probably check back later. Probably won't be live. But when I do, if you're scheduled to get updates, you'll see a pop-up. So once again, thanks for everything. Thanks for making the group a great site. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.